Aziz, speaking to Aziz ahead of your last trip up to Sydney for that game, he talked about how it was a must-win game, season's on the line. You got the job done. Is that the same mindset heading to Perth?
Yeah, I think every game from now to the end of the season is gonna be like that. I think we just got to take it game at a time. I think we had the right mentality going into this Sydney game. I thought it was one of our better performances this year. We could have scored a few more goals, but look, it was a very important 3 points. For for us in the table, but also to put that confidence back within the playing group.
As you say, one of your better performances of the campaign, I guess, as someone who has been one of the more consistent members of the squad, why do you reckon you guys as a collective haven't been able to bring that level every week like we maybe have seen from City sides over the past few years?
Yeah, look, I think we want to do that, but obviously, you know, sometimes in football these things happen, and obviously, we're juggling two competitions as well. We're doing very well in Asia and then not in the A League. But look, now it's crunch time in the season, and I think this gives us a good step forward. Like I said, with confidence and also the belief that we can do this. On our good day.
Aziz, what are you expecting from Perth? They're going to be pretty sort of desperate, I guess, to keep their top six hopes alive.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a difficult game. It's never an easy place to go. Look, they've actually got a really good squad as well. So, we're expecting a difficult game, but, we just got to come there with the right mindset like we did in Sydney. And, we've got to do everything we can to, get those 3 points.
You mentioned before they probably should have won by more the other night. What's the key to sort of putting away some more of those chances?
Yeah, look, I think that's been our biggest issue this season. It was a little bit last season as well, but we got away with it. And this season, I think, it's been probably our biggest issue is hitting the back of the net. So look, it was good for Maxi to get back on the score sheet again. Put his confidence up, but we're getting into positions, but it's just about executing. And sometimes you just need one game where they all just go in, and I think sometimes like that in football, the floodgates do open. So hopefully that's this weekend.
Did you ever chat to Maxi after he missed those couple in the first half to sort of, keep his sort of confidence up?
Yeah, look, obviously it's normal for a young boy like him to come in at halftime with his head down a little bit. But I just told him, I said, listen, we've still got 45 minutes to go, and you're going to get another chance in this game. The way I could see the game going is we're getting in good positions to try find him. And look, it happened to be off a set piece. But look, my messaging to him was we've still got 45 minutes and, we need you up top, switched on. And look, he got himself in the right position in that set piece where he's meant to be and hit the back of the net.
We've seen with Maxi, started the season going really well, but then I guess as you'd expect from a teenager, mate, in his first season as a full-time starter, he had that form dip. Now that we're coming into the back end of the campaign, he's had his minutes managed a little bit. Do you reckon he's fitness-wise and mentality-wise, he's primed to have a big end of the campaign?
Yeah, look, like you said, it's normal for a boy at his age to be inconsistent, but he's a valuable member of our team. He gives us a lot on the pitch, not just attacking, but his defensive work rate is really good and really high. So, look, he's obviously, like I said, I think it's big for his confidence to hit the back of the net the other night, and hopefully he can kick on in these last few weeks of the season as well.
Speaking of confidence, as is the phone calls or emails you and Beachy would have gotten in the past week, what does that do for your confidence?
Yeah, look, it's I'm really excited to be back amongst the national team again. It's been a while, so the excitement is as high as ever, and really looking forward to this camp.
Because with yourself, Aziz, you sort of got dudded in the sense that you came off this great high against Japan and Saudi Arabia, and then the A-League's long off-season meant that you haven't been called up again until now because of the way the dates worked. I mean, just how chomping are you to get back in green and gold and, pull on that shirt once more?
Yeah, look, it's obviously not ideal with the way the league is set up here, but look, it is what it is. I just had to obviously just focus on making sure that when the A-League does start that I perform at a consistent level, at a high level, week in, week out. That's all I can do is just, do the best I can to be the best version of myself, to give myself any chance of being selected. And look, I'm grateful that I'm back in there, and like I said, really excited.
Does a call up like this feel different, knowing that this is effectively the last audition, the last window before a World Cup? That that goal, that career high point is so close if you can just do the right things in this camp. Does it feel any different?
No, every time you're selected, well, for me anyway, it's the same feeling I get every time I get selected, whether it's a lead up to a World Cup or not. It's just it's an honour and a privilege to obviously get the opportunity to represent Australia, and that's the way I've always looked at it. I'm not looking too far ahead to the World Cup. I'm just really excited to get amongst the group in camp and focus on these 2 games. That's the most important thing at the moment.
As is with Patrick Beach, I guess maybe his form in recent weeks, and it hasn't been as good as it was at the start of the season. Are you backing him to sort of keep his spot after this camp and go to the Cup?
Yeah, look, he's a great keeper. He's had a great year as well this year. When you speak about form dipping and that comes down to the whole playing group. Our job is obviously to minimise his job as much as possible. But look, when we've needed Beachy this season, he's always stepped up in games. He's made big saves. He's helped us a lot. So, look, I think he deserves to be there and get the opportunity. And, look, the rest is up to him. Obviously, how he performs, how he conducts himself within the camp and the rest of this season with us as well. So, look, he's got the right mindset. He's a very professional kid. And like I said, he always wants to improve as well. So that's a big plus.
Is there any thoughts on the Adrian Segic issue? In terms of him being a player that obviously is chosen another nation. Were you ever in that sort of situation? And sort of how do you sort of see that?
Oh, look, it's every individual's choice. I don't think I have the right to comment on that. Look, obviously I'm obviously Turkish background, but I've never ever thought about playing for anyone other than Australia. That's always been my dream. Obviously, my parents moving here and me growing up in this country, born and raised. I couldn't be prouder representing Australia. So, look, I got no comment on that. That's his decision. Hopefully it works out the best for him and he's happy with his decision. But look, obviously, when you choose to play for Australia, you got to be all in. And, if you look at the past players, they've set the pathway for us as Australians. And, for me, looking up to those players and what it means to be Australian and play for Australia, look, for me, it means everything. So that's the way I've always looked at it.
With that in mind, without asking you to comment on individual decisions, Tony Popovich has talked about not wanting to sell the shirt. It sounds sort of like that you would agree with that stance. That shirt means everything to you. It's not something to be sold. It's an honour.
Yeah, definitely. Look, like I said, I can't speak on people's personal decision. Everyone makes their own decision in their life and their career. But for me, it's always meant everything. No one ever had to convince me to play for Australia. It was just what I wanted to do, and I was always all in with that. Whether I had to bite my time for a long time or not, it was always the end goal, and I had to work hard for it, no doubt, and I still do. From the first time I got selected till now, I get the same feeling every time I get the opportunity to represent Australia, and I think if you have that feeling, you'll never look elsewhere. So that's the way I've always looked at it.
From an on-the-pitch perspective, Aziz, what do you feel you need to do in this coming camp and throughout the rest of the A-League men's season to ensure that come the time comes, June 1, you're one of the 26 players being named in the World Cup squad?
I think just what I've done my whole career. Just conduct myself at a professional elite level. I'm always one that wants to improve on a weekly basis. So, look, I just got to focus on myself, making sure that when I'm in camp and if I do get the opportunity that I do the job that's needed. like I said, look, I can just focus on what I can do on a weekly basis, and hopefully convince the coaches that that I'm the man to be on that plane. But I don't want to think that far ahead. You know, there's still a lot of time till then. Still got a lot of games with City to get the job done here to make the six, and obviously these two big games with the Socceroos as well.
Mate, you touched on your Turkish background there, and I guess you're 2 games away from playing Turkey potentially at a World Cup. They've got the playoffs in March. Are you going to be watching those games and, you know, you rooting for them to make the World Cup as well and for you to line up against them?
Yeah, look, I still have a few friends in the national team over there, so, you know, for their sake, I hope they qualify. You know, I've never had the opportunity to play against Turkey. You know, I spent nearly half my life, majority of my career over there, and I loved it. You know, I love the league, I love the people, and like you said, it is my background. My parents are Turkish, and you know, it's in my blood. But yeah, look, it'll be nice to obviously come head to head with them, and obviously see a few familiar faces.
Australia's resident expert at scoring goals to beat Japan in competitive fixtures as of late. You're going to be watching the Matildas tomorrow night, and you think they'll get the win over the Japanese?
Yeah, look, I think, you know, we're heading to Perth tomorrow, so we'll have a bit of downtime to watch that. So, yeah, look, I wish them all the best, obviously on home soil as well. You know, it's a big occasion, and, yeah, look, I'm sure they'll get the job done and hopefully get their hands on that trophy.
And if it's the 91st minute and they get a chance to shoot, they should just shoot.
Yeah, definitely.